Mortal Kombat. What can I say about this fucking game? It's a piece of shit for one. And it's not just that the gameplay is shit or the story is shit. No, this game fucking offends me. This is basically NetherRealm Studios giving one big middle finger to all the fans who are too fucking stupid to realise it. But I'm going to need to go back and give a bit of context as to what's about to come next. In either August or October 1992, nobody really knows, Midway Games unleashed Mortal Kombat into arcades. It's the only game that could match Street Fighter 2 in terms of popularity, and its over-the-top goal led to the formation of video game rating boards such as the ESRB and PEGI. The series has had its ups and downs over the last 20 years, including series co-creator John Tobias leaving the franchise in 2000. But it keeps on going with its constantly changing gameplay style, keeping it from stagnating, and its finishing moves becoming more creative and violent. I got into the franchise around 2002 with Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, and in 2004 Mortal Kombat Deception came out, which I still hold as my third favourite fighting game of all time. And after that, MK became my favourite franchise in any medium, and I checked fan sites daily for news on upcoming games and the like. But that was about to change. In 2006, Mortal Kombat Armageddon was released. The idea was that there were too many characters in the series, 63 at the time, so it was decided that they'd make a game that would bring back everyone for one last battle where the majority of the characters would be killed off permanently, and a kind of next generation will be introduced in the next game, similar to Tekken 3. The problem was that the game was a bit on the shit side. They recycled character models from the previous two games, had an underdeveloped creative fatality system, and there was basically no plot. They released a number of bios online over the next year or so, but stopped after about 17 were released. Next came Mortal Kombat vs DC Universe in 2008, which was a pretty good game, but not a true MK experience. Then Midway went bankrupt in 2010, but the franchise was bought up by Warner Bros, and most of the MK development team was brought in to form NetherRealm Studios. NetherRealm worked on the next MK game, which they released in 2011, and they called it Mortal Kombat. The name alone is fucking stupid because it gives nothing to differentiate it from the first game, though I will admit that the cover is pretty damn cool. They decided to drop the whole next generation concept in favour of doing an in-continuity reboot in the style of the '09 Star Trek film. As such, the roster consists of all the characters from the first three games, minus Rain and plus Quan fucking Chi. The PS3 version also has Kratos from God of War, but the 360 version gets nothing. That's completely unfair, and I fucking hate Kratos almost as much as I hate Quan Chi. But I'll get more into that later. First, I need to talk about the gameplay. Each fight starts with the characters performing intro poses, which is a new thing for MK despite them having been common in fighting games since about 2000, so MK is behind the curve by about 11 years. And unlike other fighting games, each character only has one intro pose here, so they get old really quickly. The fights themselves, although shifting back to a two-dimensional plane like the first four games, uses a similar combo system to MK vs DCU, where the idea was to create a game without set combos so that any attack could lead into any other. The problem was that having set combos allows the moves to flow naturally into one another, like this.
A deadly advantage, even online, between the air and the ground with aerial combat.
But not setting combos means that there isn't a smooth transition from one move to the next, as you can see here. So while you may think having set combos limits what the player can do with the character, it looks much more impressive and fast paced in this system. The first major addition to the gameplay was the X-ray moves. Games like Street Fighter and Marvel vs Capcom have super moves for each character that can be performed by filling up a gauge at the bottom of the screen, and do a shitload of damage to the opponent. Since the developers wanted to raise the violence to new heights, especially after the significantly toned down DCU, they decided these super moves should be fatality level violent. The idea is that the opponent takes a major hit and the internal damage is shown through, you guessed it, an X-ray. Now, while they look really cool, there are a few problems with them. 1. Each character only has one X-ray move, and some are quite drawn out, so the animations get quite dull after watching them a few times. 2. Just a minor thing, but the moves would realistically cripple or even kill the opponent, yet they can just get right up again. 3. The gameplay becomes too reliant on the X-ray move, since you pretty much need to use an X-ray move to win if your opponent uses one as well. 4. Ermac is unblockable to my knowledge, since it seems to be a direct attack with no specific spot where it hits you. 5. The bosses take about 2/3 of your health in one go. As if it weren't bad enough that the bosses can no-sell your attacks and they're overpowered as fuck, but they can do X-ray moves too? What the fuck? As for the finishers, each character has 2 fatalities, a babality, and stage fatalities. The fatalities are the most violent they've ever been, and there's some pretty damn good ones, but some of them are terrible and I'll get into them as I introduce the characters. Babalities, which have been absent since MK3, usually have the baby hurting themselves and crying, which just seems mean-spirited to me. The game also includes tag battles which get fucking abused in the story mode, but more on that later. One last thing before we get into the story mode, the challenge tower. This mode has 300 unique bullshit challenges such as defeat Sector before it hits you in the head 3 times and your head explodes, or defeat 4 opponents in a row on your own. But what's the point in going through all 300 stages? Well, the developers said before launch that if you cleared all 300 stages, you'd get an amazing bonus. Do you want to know what it is? This! That's right, a costume of Mileena in just bandages. That'd be great if I was attracted to CG women with Nosferatu teeth. See, of all the women in MK, it's Mileena who gets the most focus put on her sexuality. Which is fucking demented. But, I put it off long enough. Let's take a look at the story mode.